So for most of us, when we think of pocket knives, probably two pictures come to mind. Either the classic wood-handled pocket knife that your grandpa carried on him for several decades, or a much more modern take that's ultra slim and lightweight and disappears in the pocket with compound blades and fast actions. But leave it to Cold Steel and the mind of Andrew Demko to take that concept and explode it into oblivion. And that's what we're looking at today in the 4 Max Scout by Cold Steel. Guys, this thing is insane. I mean, why is this a pocket knife? Like, they took the DNA of the Becker BK2, big, thick, heavy survival knife, threw in a few drops of DNA from the Cold Steel AD10, and mashed it with some Dino DNA.
And gave us the Cretaceous period's favorite EDC knife.
I mean, we are looking at over 10 inches from front to back, 4-inch blade, 6-inch handle. We're looking at over 10 ounces. It's like 10.1 ounces because it has stainless steel liners, triad locking mechanism, the Gryvery scales. This thing is just so overbuilt. It's a 0.18 on the overall thickness, so 3/16 of an inch thick with a 3/16 of an inch thick lock bar in that triad locking mechanism. I mean, it is a monster. It's a beast. It's going to take up the majority of the real estate in your pocket, and you're going to know it's there. So, like, why? It's so thick. It's so heavy. Why would someone create this, and where would it even make sense? Well, I do believe that for most of us, it doesn't make sense. But there are two types of people that would probably really get a lot of use out of this tool. And so I'm going to break that down with you guys today because I couldn't put it down. I mean, I couldn't resist getting this knife and passing up on it because this was on sale for about $65 is what I paid for it over on Amazon. Normally it's about $110, which is still a screaming deal when we're about to look at all of the materials. So even at $110, the normal going rate, you can get a lot of knife that we're about to see. I think there's a lot of value there, but you have to weigh, like, is it better just to go with a fixed blade? Probably in most scenarios, but at $65, I was like, okay, I've already done the A10, let's just do this one, why not? But before we do that, I wanna thank you guys, as always, for your support here at the channel. We have a ton of hyperlinks for you below, but also a new landing page that you can go check out that is really clean and tidy, that really shows you where the social media platforms that we're on, as well as the affiliate programs that we're a part of here at the channel, that you can see new gear coming out. And it's just a really nice, clean platform. I encourage you to check out that link. It'll be in the description box below, but also the links not only to Amazon in this particular video, where a lot of these Cold Steels are up for discounted prices right now, but also our regular affiliates, you know, Smoky Mountain Knife Works, GPKNIVES, BLADEHQ, just to name a few. And I do appreciate it when you guys, if a knife or a gear item makes sense for you, using those hyperlinks. Now, right off the bat, I do want to run it up, really like sizing it for you compared to the AD10, compared to the Becker BK2. You can see it's almost on the size level of a Becker BK2, so you're getting a folding survival knife in concept, and it definitely dwarfs its parent, the AD10. I mean, this is such a huge tool. And one thing that I did like right out of the gate is this blade shape. I mean, this is an excellent blade shape that's got some cool styling to it too. You know, that classic drop point, huge, broad, big belly, and a saber grind that goes up 3/4 of the way, and then you do get a swedge, and then it reinforces itself again back at the tip. So the tip is so thick and tough and robust, but you got this kind of cool accent swedge, and then it thickens itself up by the spine again. Now, I'm not really finding any sharp edges, so you couldn't really throw sparks off of this. So those of you maybe thinking of a survival folder and you need it to throw sparks, it can't do that unless you use, you know, actually the edge. Now, it's made the Max Scout, that's like the cheap version, is made in Taiwan out of AUS-10 steel. I'm actually really in love with AUS-10. I think it's a huge upgrade for me over AUS-8, and definitely, I mean, it's in the family with particularly VG10 and 154CM. You're going to see very similar toughness, durability. You're going to see good edge retention, and I'm happy with that. So, and it's stain resistant and rust resistant, which is fantastic. This has like a stone wash on it. Now, as I said a little bit earlier, it is 3/16 of an inch thick, or 0.18. On the back spine, and basically holds that almost the whole way down to the tip, which means it's, again, monster thickness. And it's got a good relief edge for how big it is, but I mean, I don't prefer fixed blades in this about 4 inches. The cutting edge is like maybe 3.9, to be that big. And that thick, unless it's basically like a tactical knife and like for stabbing and prying. So it can do your basic utility around your home, you know, the edge geometry. It can do fine getting through some cardboard. It's not gonna be fun to do food prep. I did not enjoy doing food prep with this. Game processing and meat, you know, it's fine. But, you know, if you're starting to do vegetables and, you know, chopping up a salad and, you know, doing fruit for like something like that, it's just not gonna work, and it's not very fun to use. And, you know, going ripping through packaging for your kid's favorite toy that just arrived from Amazon, it's just not good for those type of activities. Now, the blade shape does excel in super heavy duty, hard use tasks, like making feather sticks for a fire. You can totally do that. The edge geometry works for it. You can easily do that. Shaping wood, doing those type of things, going through cordage and rope and nylon and rubber, and, you know, working around it, maybe a construction site, maybe on your property, you know, you own some property, you own some livestock, you know, that type of stuff. It's going to work super well with that. That tip can stab, and then, you know, you're not afraid of snapping it if you're getting into something hard and having to dig something out, you know, or whatever you're doing with it. It's very, very tough, very broad, and really works in that capacity. Now, it's got the triad locking mechanism, which is arguably one of the strongest lockback designs on the market. I've batoned with these tools. I would not recommend that, but I had to with this one. At 3/16 of an inch thick lockback with that massive stop pin right there, I was like, I got to. Someone's gonna do it, so I gotta do it to see how it holds up. And I did go through, I'm not sure if it was a mesquite or hickory wood, but it was dense, and I was able to crack through it, and the locking mechanism held up. Again, wouldn't recommend that. I would only do it in a survival situation / pinch, but if you had to, and, you know, it was about, I'd say in 2 inches or less, this thing should easily be able to handle it if you had to. So, I mean, the lock bar and this one particularly is rated for over 600 pounds. Cold steel hung, free weight, 600 pounds on this tool. I think they got a video about it. And it held that weight and didn't have any deformation and deforming of the tool. So, I mean, it is so strong. The thickness is bananas. Now, this is where it really comes down to the first of two types of people I think would maybe fall in love with this tool. And having stainless steel liners in here gives it the strength to endure super heavy shock under intense circumstances. So the first has to do with the size of this pocket knife and the placement of these thumb studs. This is an excellent tool if you work with gloves a lot to carry as a pocket knife. Now, if you wear big, beefy leather gloves or maybe cold weather gloves because of your environment and or job, and a pocket knife or a fixed blade is required, you know that those are not very malleable. The dexterity is pretty low. And so carrying a pocket knife is probably not really on your list, or it's gotta be this big beefy thing, or, you know, sometimes it's very awkward and you gotta use 2 hands to close or take your gloves off to put them on it, you know, to close it and open it. This knife is not the case. With my big, heavy duty, low dexterity leather gloves, I can easily engage that thumb stud, flick it open with one flick, use the tool because of how massive it's 6 inches and how wide and thick the handle is. I can grip this all day with real estate left over, use it, and then depress the lock bar and close it up and shut it. So in that capacity, that is a very impressive tool. So those of you who are, gloves is kind of the name of the game, but you find it very difficult to use your pocket knives, this might be right up your alley because it is easy to engage and disengage the lock because of how massive it is, and the handle is so large that even with big, I wear large size hands, as you guys know, some large size gloves, that this easily fits inside of it. So something to note there, and those of you ranch hands, you know, construction workers, cold weather environments, you know, you're working on an oil rig. I used to do oil for a little while. You're working on an oil rig in Alaska and you want a pocket knife, you know, like those type of things. I mean, this has a lot going on. The second one is the survivalist, the outdoorsman who just wants a folding tool for some reason. The environment maybe makes more sense that you're like, you know what, this could probably do everything I need, and I just carry that in my pocket or throw it in my pack, and that's all I could probably need. Because it has that level of strength, the broadness, it's a great outdoor folder if you're willing to invest really the real estate in the pocket and the weight, those two things. The blade, the locking mechanism, the steel, The performance is excellent for a compact, basically fixed blade, but for some reason you're like, a pocket knife would be nice. You could maybe, you know, put it in a pouch in your sheath of your larger machete, or, you know, something like that. And to have as a backup, maybe, you know, you've got a 6-inch survival knife, you got maybe a giant machete, or you've got, you know, your axe, but you're wanting like a backup folder that could handle just about anything. This is where that tool, I think, would make a lot of sense, because again, the blade, but then the handle as well. Not only do you get to have a huge generous choil that you can easily choke up and get good woodwork done, I mean, it is comfortable. You could hold this all day because of how big the tool is, and it feels like you're holding a fixed blade, and it's very dedicated, but you can still back up. You have great traction for harder use activities, and it's got blocky jimping, so again, not going to create a hot spot. Good textile, like reptilian grip on those Gryvery scales, but then you can even back up. And what I found was, with wrist flicks, I can do delimbing of branches. They're about the thickness of my thumb, maybe slightly larger. No problem, not even need a lanyard. I can delimb that stuff. And so it gives you this outdoor user capability that most pocket knives you just would laugh to try and do. It gives you that ability, and it fills out the hand so nicely because of the different grips you have. You have choil, general, and then backup mode, basically 3 levels of grip. Makes it just a wild tool to use in those 2 environments that I've been discussing with you. Now, I do really like this pocket clip, even though it's ginormous and, you know, everyone can see it. It doesn't create any hot spots on the ergonomic side. Great tension, you know, I mean, it's going to pull on your pants quite a bit when you're pulling it up, but it's completely ambidextrous and only comes with 1 pocket clip. Cold Steel's kind of known for these, like, you got to have 2 pocket clips. I like that. I hope that they kind of go more to this in a lot of their designs in the future, because it means I don't have to keep track of another pocket knife. And particularly, you know, if I gift it away to someone who's a lefty, it's like, oh, where did that pocket clip go? You know, it's just like, this is boom, boom. It's pretty deep ride for how massive this guy is. You're still going to get a good, like, about 3/4 of an inch, so you can easily grab it, pull it out. You can have a lanyard on there to help with that if you want. But for this massive pocket knife, it totally is a great pocket clip that definitely does the job and doesn't get in the way of ergonomics. Well, guys, I hope that you've enjoyed this breakdown of this insane dinosaur fixed blade folder mashup today. And yeah, I mean, am I rocking this as my general, you know, EDC around the campground or around the RV, or, you know, like, no. I mean, it's just so massive for me personally. But in the areas that we've discussed today, I could see a lot of people getting a lot of enjoyment out of it, where a fixed blade just doesn't really make sense, or you just don't want to. Maybe you're, you know, a tire doesn't allow for a good mounting option for a fixed blade, or, you know, it's just the concealability helps, or, you know, whatever. And it's not going to break the bank, which is just nuts. I mean, it's crazy with the price point that this one is currently hitting, even at the 110. So I look forward to hearing in the comments below what you guys think. I invite you to subscribe if you're not yet a subscriber here at the channel, and check out the other video popping up. And until next time, always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared, and we'll see you out there.